Hello and you're very welcome along to Sports Day with me, Sarah Mulcairns. Let's start then with the dire warnings for the future of sport as we know it, because today key figures from the likes of football, cricket and rugby union spelled out the extent of the challenge ahead to a government committee. Cricket then, the chief executive of the ECB says the pandemic could cost the sport up to £380 million. Tom Harrison saying it was the most significant financial challenge that they have faced. Rugby union then, warnings from the RFU that they will lose around £107 million. That's if England's autumn internationals are cancelled. And even if they do go ahead, but without fans, they will have an £85 million black hole. And then finally, to the Football League, the 71 clubs are facing a £200 million black hole by September, according to their chairman, Rick Parry, who also insists that the current season needs to be concluded before the end of July. So grave concerns across the board. And I've been speaking to one man well-versed in the governance of sport, former director of the EFL, Stewart Regan.
When the plans are being pulled together, they have to look not just at the game of football itself and the safety aspects that go with it, but also what it means for the business. And these two things are really intertwined, because the game of football drives the TV revenue, it drives the sponsorship and advertising revenue. Obviously, gate receipts is further down the line. But without those revenues coming in, then any business health check that's undertaken will look pretty sick. So we're in this really difficult place where there's a desire to get the game going in order to drive those revenues, but there's also a fear for the safety of everybody concerned in the game. And that's why it's going to need some real careful planning. And any talk, in my opinion, of trying to start again in May or even early June, I just think it's not going to happen. There is too much to do and too much at stake from a health point of view to rush this, and it needs some careful consideration, in my opinion.
Is this the biggest crisis that sport will be facing?
Undoubtedly. So, football needs to put, to use a cliche, to put its foot on the ball and actually take time, consider all of these issues from both the game perspective and the business perspective, road test a plan, think through the detail of how that plan will be implemented, all of the minutiae about social distancing, about keeping players safe, about what if a player says, I don't want to play, I'm afraid, what do you do then? What about contracts? Because they run out at the end of June in some areas, end of July in others, and it'll clearly be on the minds of footballers and their agents about what happens when their contracts expire. What about issues like promotion and relegation? How do you deal with those for the future? But in my own opinion, football has to take second priority right now to the safety and well-being.
We know that many clubs could be facing the wall because of what is happening. Do you sense that there is an air of collaboration across football and also across all the sports in the UK to make sure that the worst-case scenario doesn't happen?
Sarah, you're absolutely right. I mean, collaboration is one of my 5 key steps to try and get this plan in place for football and other sports to actually resume. There's an indication right from the top, from FIFA, from UEFA, and from the leagues as well, and the governing bodies, that they can't do this on their own. Everybody needs to work together and to come up with a plan that might not be perfect, but it's workable.
Yes, Stewart Regan there, and as he was speaking about, there are real concerns over the football season resuming. That despite the Foreign Minister Dominic Raab saying in the last hour that the government are looking at how to restart leagues. Well, the chief executive of League One's Rochdale, David Bottomley, has been speaking to our sport.